Welcome everybody to Tank Tap, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 258. I am joined, as always, by Lucy.
Hello.
Hey, and Adam.
Hey.
And a fourth person joining us this week, Mr. Tom Meyer. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you could come on. We've talked about this for a little while, so it's good that we've managed to get some time to all get together. So amazing. But if you've never listened to us before, we're a podcast about drinking beers and talking video games. We occasionally delve into the world of craft beer as well, talking about news, culture, and those sorts of things, as we do with gaming. We drink some beer, so that's the first thing to get to. Tom, what are you going to start with this evening?
I'm going for Planet Tacoma.
Ooh,
Hells.
nice.
500ml bottle.
It's
Just
a big
a
boy.
very yeah, definitely. Although for some reason 500ml still doesn't seem enough.
No, it isn't.
But yeah, just a very it's a new addition to their range. Just very nice, crisp, slight dry lager. When the weather was really nice the other day, definitely cracked out a couple of these, and this was one that didn't quite make it through. So drinking it now with you guys.
Nice, perfect. What was the percentage on it?
Let's have a look. I think it's 4.4.
Okay, nice and light.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Lucy, we're all on to you. What are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, I need to decide which one I'm going to drink first. And usually we do have like a lighter one first or something, in terms of style and percentage, but I can't. There's a lot going on this can, so I guess I'll just drink this because I can't tell what the percentage is. Unless it's something crazy, I think I'll be alright drinking this first. This is from LIC Beer Project in Queens, New York.
Ooh.
It is called the Kingsguard. As I say, I'm trying to find the percentage, but it's got a...
None.
I mean, I like the art. There's a lot going on. It's like a playing card, like a, king of whatever, diamonds.
Yep. Nice.
Aces. There's ace of spades on it, because of course there is.
The
There we go.
just
7%.
ace symmetry.
Yeah, 7%, and it's 1 pint,
Oh, jeez.
which is nice. It's nice to get a bit more, but yeah, there's not much. I can't even see anything on this. This can is very loud.
Just too much going on.
It's an IPA. Yeah, it says. You probably can't see, but it says there in like gold writing on
Nice.
a red banner that it's an IPA. So
Perfect.
It's like a Where's Wally tin of information.
it is.
Adel, we'll come to you.
I have probably the least busy tin I've seen in a while because it's a Brew By Numbers.
Nice.
Very classic, nice graphic design. It is number 5. It's the East Coast IPA. It is 6% ABV. And it is they're exclusive for Beer 52. I think the West Coast they did a West and an East release, but this modern beer is inspired by the pale ales of America's East Coast. This naturally hazy East Coast IPA was brewed with classic American hops, providing wave after wave of vibrant tropical notes and ripe stone fruit flavors. The addition of oats creates a soft and smooth profile, resulting in a beer that is full-bodied, refreshing, and bursting with flavor. And it's got a whole bunch of other stuff. It doesn't tell me the hops, though. Just that they're classically American.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Could be anything then. Good. So I
Even a
did.
boat.
I did prepare a little bit. I have got the Wiper and True and Bristol Craft Beer Festival beer. The
Nice.
Wiper and True Collaboration Series 17, a festival saison mixed fermentation. It's 4.2%. It has hops Pacifica, Palisade, Citra, and Nelson Sauveur. The yeast, it tells me, is Escarpment Labs Fruit Bomb Saison Blend. Sure. Cool.
That's a lot of words. They all sound good.
That is a lot of words, yes. The malts
A
are
real
lager.
bon saison.
Malts are lager, extra pale, barley, wheat, rye, and spelt. Oh, it does have some flavour text. Festival Saison is a drink in the celebration I will start again. Festival Saison is a drink in celebration of our home city, packing a joyful, explicit punch of flavour and personality. Brewed with a blend of Saison and Brettanomyces yeast strains, it delivers juicy hop funk on the nose and palate, with lingering notes of spice and a satisfying dry edge. Nice. Perfect. I haven't had a Saison for ages.
Yeah, I was looking for some in like my last beer purchase. They just don't seem to be around, and I want
I
them.
think you'll find that we're coming upon the saison.
Yeah, good, because it's been so long since I had a really good one. So I'm jealous, Ben.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm
very
jealous
good,
of that American bit.
a very good introduction saison as well for a lot of people that haven't had it before.
Mm.
That one's just the low percentage as well, and then that kind of those light hint of those funky flavors. Just when it's actually a really sunny day, as we always hope the festival's going to be, that was perfect drinking.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. It smells lovely as well. We'll roll round and talk about said beers and taste them. Tom, you've already given us a couple of sort of notes on the one you're drinking. Is it kind of how does it stack up against like other Hellers? Is it just kind of like super easy drinking that you don't even know that it's like a Hellers in style? Is it a little bit lighter at something like, what was it, about 4.4%, something like that?
4.4%, yeah. I always find lagers are really hard to try and actually get some decent flavor profiles out of it, because generally good lagers have that real nice balance across it. So I always find it's actually hard to describe a bad lager, because when you start seeing some of those off flavors, that they can't quite hide behind that massive hop profile. So that's why I'm whenever you see a Lost and Grounded, if they're bringing out a new lager, you just know straight away it's going to be delicious. And I think this one follows many steps as how they make Keller Pills to start, and then I think there's a different hop profile in there, and a slightly different process. But it's very distinctive Lost and Grounded flavors. And just super easy to drink, and as most Hells are, it's really good.
Good, nice,
Excellent.
Lucy, we'll come around to you then. The Kingsguard.
Yeah, it's nice looking beer. Very darkish yellow, very very hazy.
It looks sort of like
Practically
custardy
opaque,
on the screen. I don't know, it's just the lighting, but
It's a bit of the lighting, but it's thick, it's dense. It's got a gorgeous smell. It's got a very sweet and malty smell. It kind of reminds me of like the Cloudwater series, when they went through like 1 through, was it 13?
the double
that they did?
IPA
Oh,
ones.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The V
The different
series.
series.
That was a long time ago.
Has that really like deep tropical, sweet and malty aroma to it.
Nice.
Straight off the bat, really hoppy. Really, really hoppy, which is, I got this recently. I don't exactly know when it was imported. I imagine also quite recently, because where I got it from, they usually, they're importing a lot, to be fair, like on a regular basis. So, but yeah, really hoppy, really, really fresh. It's not as malty and sweet as it smelt, which is nice, because I'm not not a massive fan of sweet beers, but it still has that sweetness. I'd say it's more sweet than bitter. But yeah, really hoppy, really fresh, very tropical. It's got a nice bit of pininess as well. Just smelling it, I don't know if I'm getting like that sweetness is from the alcohol. It's 7%, but
Seems a little stronger sweetness than that.
yeah. but yeah, it's not too heavy. I mean, it looks thick and soupy, but it's probably just medium bodied.
Okay. I know the last few weeks when we have had a few American beers, or a few months when we've had a few American beers, you can always tell just like that they have this excellent quality to them. Just like the water quality over there must be just something else. Is it got that as well to it?
Yeah. It has that softness as well, like that. Good water quality. So, but I think the best way I can describe it is like having a sharpness, not in terms of like acidity or it's too sour, but just that zing. I think that zestiness from like the fruit and the hops, it really comes through. So
nice.
I was feeling a bit bit tired, a bit sleepy. I've actually had to think today, which is not usually what I do as a day-to-day job. But so it's just, this has woken me right up. It's like, this is your get up and go beer, even though 7% you may not want to start with it. Yeah,
That's
not
fair.
exactly session strength. Yeah, I really like that. Really impressed. So even though there's a lot going on in the can, I think, on the can, I think what's going on in the can it's quite impressive. So
Good.
Excellent.
Nice. Adel, how about yourself?
So it's not as hazy, kind of similar in yellow. Very thin head, nice lacing. It's got a light maltiness undertone, but mostly you're getting sort of a like a passion fruit mango type of tropicalness on the top, on the nose. Oh man, I've been needing this all day. Beer. Sorry, I'm just gonna
solves all the
bask in beer
problems.
for a second. I didn't realize how much I was needing a beer, even though I did nothing today. Spent the day waiting for workmen to appear who never appeared, and then had messaged my landlord to be like, no one showed up. It's 1:30 p.m. And he's like, oh yeah, they think they might be coming tomorrow and finishing up Friday.
Brilliant.
It's like, cool, thanks for telling me.
yeah,
And I was like, I should have a beer. And then I was like, no, it's 2 p.m. I shouldn't have a beer. Should have had a beer.
that's sociable hours. I mean, the beer festivals we go to the 11 a.m. sessions. So
That's true. We'd go earlier. Well, no, we wouldn't. We'd sleep in. Yeah, so it's a little more on the passion fruit side in the tropical taste, getting touch of peach, but I think the flavor text rambled about having a creaminess from the oats, and you're getting both a maltiness lower than in the nose. The maltiness came out in the nose a lot more than in the flavor, but I think it does give a little more depth to the body. Well, this is a great sort of slightly brisk spring but very sunny day beer. It's got a bit more of that body from the malts. It's not super strong and tropical forward. It's kind of a reserved IPA that it has all these tropical notes, but again, with that extra maltiness, it's just like yes, I am having a beer that's kind of matching the weather and where I want to be, because it's giving me like hints of a blossoming IPA, but not quite that there in like degree of the flavors, or they're all there, but they're just sort of more subdued. Which is why when I had it, I was like, this is what today felt like. A kind of chilly but sunny day.
yeah,
Which does better with alcohol.
what day doesn't? Apart from the day after having a lot of alcohol.
Well,
Yeah, those don't exist. I still have my mutant power at 37.
Oh
No
yeah, you don't get
hangovers for
hangovers
Bill.
though, so
Yeah.
you must be having drinking at altitude for most of your life.
Oh, that's probably true, actually.
Yeah.
What I do get, though, is even after a couple pints, I sleep poorly. I've realized that's gotten worse in this year of lockdown, because I had a couple pints of playing games with Ben yesterday, and that was enough for me to not have sleep throughout the night. And I'm like, well, I think that's probably an indicator, because don't sleep well on Tuesday nights, usually. Record Tuesdays. Oh, shit. So I think the mutant power of no hangovers has a flip side, but also I think I'm just losing it finally. Yeah,
it's not a bad flip side.
But yeah, to go back to the beer, it's mostly, like I said, really nice tropical notes that aren't very strong. It's kind of a nice, a more reserved IPA, but it's got all this. It's got these stone fruit, tropical, and a bit more malty body than I was expecting, which was welcome.
Nice, fair, good. So to round us out, the Wiper and True Bristol Craft Beer Festival collaboration beer. It's got a lovely nose, a little bit of spice on there. Definitely, I don't know whether it's the sort of the combination of these sort of Bretted yeasts and that Nelson Sauvin. I'm getting a lot of kind of grape on there as well. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's just washing up wine glasses earlier today. That might have spoiled me slightly, but it definitely has a little bit of that to it. In the flavour, it's actually got a lot more of a hit to it than I thought it would have. It's almost, it looks sort of a little bit luminous on the camera, but I think it's just my light. It's quite pale. It's a little bit translucent. It's not fully, but it's not sort of a solid block of colour as it kind of appears maybe on the camera. It's a little bit sort of maybe a little bit thinner than that, but that big hit of flavour comes through with a tiny little bit of sort of spice backing it up all the way through. But it's a really hard beer to sort of describe what that sort of solid core taste is to it. And I can pick out little bits. There's a little bit of citrus in there, there's a little bit of grape in there, there's a sort of spicy note to it as well. But there's this... what is it? What is it? It might come to me the more I drink it. I mean, I'm already smashing through it, so who knows? Who knows when that will come to me? It may do, but it's very, very easy. When I smelt it, I thought it might sort of take a little bit sort of longer to drink, and the first sort of sip, because of that big sort of flavour hit, I thought, wow, I'm gonna sit here and sort of sip at this very slowly. But it's a nice flavour. It's a little bit dry, so I'm going back to it a little bit for that as well. This will not last long at all.
Nice.
I don't know if, or at least I don't remember, if I've had anything with Pacifica in before. So it'd be interesting to know what that is doing. I'm not familiar with it. So
It's not one we've come across from my memory on here.
No, fair.
Yeah, me neither.
Cool. I'm going to drink this. We'll all drink our beers and we shall launch into it. First, for everybody, and as our guest Tom, we will come to you. Just have a little chat about who you are, what you do, why I'm drinking a Wiper and True Bristol Craft Beer Festival collaboration beer as well. Would you like to give us sort of a little rundown?
Yeah, of course. I did think some people might be like, why do they keep talking about the Bristol Craft Beer Festival? Why have they got that glass? Why have they got that? Why are they talking about that glass so much? Yeah, so I'm Tom Meyer. I'm the marketing manager for We Are Beer. We run, which is now the 6 festivals this year. So that is the Bristol Craft Beer Festival, Beer Central in Birmingham, the Edinburgh Craft Beer Festival, London Craft Beer Festival, and then the 2 new festivals, which is Manchester Craft Beer Festival this year and our Craft Beer Music Festival, Bigfoot. So, yeah, a very, very busy summer for us, which is very different from last summer. Yeah, so obviously you mentioned Bristol Craft Beer Festival. That's our first one coming up. So that's why we're talking so much about that festival.
Yeah. So with the with the growing festival circuit for you, you mentioned kind of how different it is to last year, and listeners will know that the 3 of us, we had tickets for last year, but we deferred them to this year because of the state of the world.
Because of, well, come on now, how are you listening to podcasts but don't have enough access to the internet to know what happened in 2020?
Yes.
In New Zealand, they're like, what happened?
That's true.
We don't know.
Absolutely.
Everything's normal.
You go and do whatever you like in New Zealand.
All year.
But I know that the Bristol Craft Beer Festival did go on last year still. How, kind of, I suppose, to start us all off and to bring us into sort of this year, how did that fare for you? How was the season sort of last year, and the kind of the challenges and difficulties that were brought up from it?
Well, that was the only one, excuse me, of our festivals that actually ran last year. So I think we're in just at the right position where, excuse me, we're like right at the top of that kind of almost hills, like right, we're out of lockdown, things are opening up, and I think actually as we slowly got to that date, it was when that kind of rule of six was going to be rolling out. I think it was a Monday after our festival.
Oh wow!
So we started off with a lot of confidence in what we were doing, and it did become clear that there was a lot of change in what the media was presenting, what the government was kind of saying. But we had 2 SAG meetings, we had many talks with Bristol Council, and we actually managed to have a really nice festival. It was really weird actually, because I know you guys have been before, but we had to have all seating there, and some people were like, please have this every year. Like, we just want to have a seat, we just want to have a base to be able to go. We're like, yeah, that sounds great, but we can't have as many people if we do that. So but yeah, everyone just for some people it was actually, I spoke to some people, it was their first time out. I thought that was so brave. Like, pubs had already been open at that stage, and people were like, yeah, this is our first time out. And I was like, what are you doing? How do you come to a festival straight away?
I mean, go big or go home. Go big or stay home.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the government came up with that one. Yeah, so it was really nice, and I think everyone was blown away actually by how safe they felt. The quality of the beers was still up there. It's something that we always pride ourselves on. We still had a lot of the brewers actually there as well, serving the beer. So, apart from, apart from obviously like the PPE and stuff that people were wearing, and some of the guards and stuff, and all the seating, it still felt like Bristol Craft Beer Festival. So,
Nice.
yeah, I think we came out of it with such a high, and we'd postponed all our other festivals for after Bristol, and that's when things obviously started to deteriorate again. So we came out of Bristol like, yeah, right, let's do Edinburgh, we'll do London, we'll do Birmingham, and then the news it became very clear that they weren't going to happen. So it was very sad, because we put as much work into those festivals that didn't happen as we would a normal festival, and we was against. For me, for marketing, you're against a public perception that the media kind of was kind of creating, and then obviously that's what the government was saying as well. But we managed to get through last year, and then this year. I mean, we've basically been working on this year since they all were cancelled. So we've made sure that we're coming back like bigger and stronger. So that's where I mentioned Manchester Craft Beer Festival. And that's kind of what we were doing. We were just kind of getting all that planned, and that was only released 3 weeks ago, and we've already seen like so many tickets sales for that,
Nice.
which has been amazing. So yeah, I feel like this year everyone's just trying to get something in their diary. It's just something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And the way things are going, and the recent announcement, it sounds like the dates are kind of going to be stuck by. Everyone's been vaccinated. I checked to see when I'll be getting mine, and it seems to say I'll be getting mine in April. So it's we're definitely moving in the right direction, and in a totally different place to where we were last year. So yeah, I think we're just really excited to see everyone again as well. It's the breweries and the teams there, they're friends and family to us, and to have a year of not seeing some of them has been really weird. So I mean, I've got a 21-month-old, and she was just born. I think it was 2019, and it was the one of the festivals in between two of the festivals, and then from then, some people haven't seen me since then, so they have no idea about Robin or anything like that. It's like something like, oh hey, yeah, I've got a kid, by the way.
It's a slightly different conversation starter than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're just like really pumped to go for this year. And yeah, I'm sure everyone is. I'm sure you guys are as well.
Mm.
Yeah. It must have been so difficult to, toe that line between we want to be up and excited for it, but the science and the government restrictions are telling you otherwise. Because when I look on Instagram and everything, you see these marketing managers and people. I mean, it's their livelihood and it's the bread and butter of these companies, just to get people excited to, come, please join us, support us, keep us afloat. But how hard was it for you last year? Trying to be optimistic, but also knowing probably at the back of your head that this may not happen. How difficult was that for you?
Yeah, it was obviously very difficult. But I think we were really good at being able to change how we operated. So, the first thing to go was any shots of large crowds.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's a certain time you get anxiety just seeing crowds. You watch TV shows, you're like, oh my god, why are they sitting so close? Or,
Yeah, that's super weird.
Yeah, and I think some of the quiz shows have been on TV at the moment where they're all spaced out, and then suddenly you see a rerun and they're all sat so close together. It's just that it's so weird to see. But yeah, we just had to change. We were very open about it as well. I think that was the key as well. We had to say to people, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we've got in place. We had a whole page on our website, for people to go there and see what we're doing. So we made sure that we weren't misrepresenting what the festival was going to be. We weren't trying to say to people, hey, yeah, remember last year? Yeah, it's going to be exactly the same. For some people, they deferred their tickets. They knew that it wasn't going to be quite up to the festival that they're used to. And some people you know what? I just want something to do, and they came along. And there were people that were skeptic as well. The amount of messages I saw, they were like, kind of got forced along to come to this. Right, really wasn't sure. Was going to be quite scared, and then they were there, and they're like, "Yeah, I felt safer here than in the supermarket."
Good.
So,
I mean, that says a lot about how you guys handled it. I mean, definitely from our end, we had conversations about it, and it was like I remember the emails that you were sending me, like, this is what you're doing. And I think it was as just a normal consumer, it was really good to see you guys be really upfront with, we get it if this isn't what you want to do, so you can defer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, because I remember writing the email to defer the tickets, and I said I have every faith in that you lot will do the right thing. It's more me and my psyche and my, fear of going outside, which stopped me, because you lot were very communicative with what you were doing, and that, I was like, gosh, I really want to go, but I was like, I know they're going to put on a good festival and it's probably good to go, but it was more of my own hang up rather than any fear of what you lot were gonna do or not do.
Yeah, you've got to. We've got to remember as well. We came from, that message of last March of the message was almost like, if you go out and you're near someone within 2 meters, you will die. You'll get COVID. You will die.
Yeah.
It was that kind of messaging, and then suddenly they're like, "Hey, go back to work. Everything's back to normal. Go do stuff. Go spend some money."
It can't be that bad. Your kid's been in school for months.
Exactly. For some people, there's a bit of a whiplash there of how quickly it went from you're going to die to now everything's fine.
Yeah.
So we had to have that balance, right? We had to have that safety balance, safety element there. Make sure everyone feels safe, but still make it a celebration of beer and the people involved. And what was really nice, people deferring their tickets, the emails we got to support was lovely, and the messages we saw on social media and things as well. They're like, I'm holding on to this. Yeah, as you said, we believe in you, believe in what you do. We can't wait for next year. Almost like hurry up, it's next year. So it was difficult, but yeah, I think we got through it.
Good. Kind of on that as well, I know that for sort of each of the festivals, there is always a festival beer. And I think more often than not, that involves some of your team getting together with the brewers, and whether that's collaboration. I know Bristol maybe last year or maybe the year before was like 5 different breweries kind of getting together. Left-Handed Giant, Wiper and True, Good Chemistry, and a couple of others which have gone from my mind. But how different has that been? Have you sort of been doing lots of like remote kind of brewing sort of sessions with people, or has it kind of been more of a we'll just leave it in their hands kind of thing? This is sort of a brief and just let them kind of crack on with it.
Yeah, well, that the Bristol one that you're drinking now is a great example. That we had this whole massive plan for last year of the beer that we were going to make, and as we got closer to the festival, it was kind of like there's no point to do this idea now, because it's not going to get the attention, especially what was in the news and things at that time. So we thought, right, Wipe and True just like, look, we still really want to make a festival beer. We still want to celebrate the festival season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create a festival saison. So there's a few emails back and forth, but they're the brewers, right? I'm not gonna turn around and say to them, no, I think you need to add this hop instead, actually.
Yeah.
Or for us, the brief generally is like, just make a sessionable, really fresh and summer vibes beer. That's what we go to them, and it was great. The flavors that you're picking out, that's what we were hoping to achieve. So but I mean, we've got other collabs lined up for this year. When we're able to meet up with people. But yeah, it's always exciting because you do get to, as we did that year before, you get some of Bristol's best breweries together, and that email chain, I could tell you, was very long email chain. And I mean, I don't think I understood half the stuff when the brewers got involved. You just kind of reading through the lines. It's like, what is this going to be a sessionable tasting summer? Yeah, cool.
They're talking about gravities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah. But beer really is about bringing people together, and that's kind of what our festival is about as well. So that collaboration was amazing, and this year's Bristol beer as well that we're just working on is kind of about bringing that kind of ethos back in as well. So bringing other people into that into the beer scene. So yeah, look out for that. That's nice. Actually happening very, very soon, that Bristol one.
Perfect. Good.
Nice.
Any hints? Any little spoilers on what we can expect? What are you allowed to say?
Yeah, I was trying to think then, like what am I actually allowed to say? All I say is it's a New England with a twist. It's not like anything I imagine anyone would have tried before.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very excited about trying this one.
Nice. Good.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, great.
Wait till I've had a couple more beers, and then afterwards I might end up just telling you all the ingredients.
We'll just stop recording, and then you can tell us all the ingredients.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that the Beer Essentials coming back, because it was only 1 year that you were able to put the Beer Essentials.
2019 was the first year. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because I live in Birmingham, and Birmingham's not best known for its beer scene. So just to see a festival like having been to the Bristol once before, it's like I had taken some of my friends to like some of the other festivals, but I was like, this one is probably the best, where you just pay at the door, have as much as you like, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad to see it's coming back this year, because I was fearful.
I think a lot of people were, because when we first looked at Birmingham, I remember we were going around the city talking about what we were doing, and people would say to us about, oh, there was this festival, there was that festival, and a lot of good ones that had come and gone. So not that it filled us with dread, because obviously we've been doing this for a number of years. We kind of know our audience and know what we're doing, and that side of stuff. But yeah, it was sad to see that some people had like clearly invested so much in these other festivals that had sadly no longer existed. But yeah, we also kind of thought, like, does anyone remember Beer Central? I mean, it's 2 years ago. I still say last year for Beer Central.
I think that's fine.
Totally ignore 2020 as a year.
Well.
Agreed.
It's like, it was last year. It's fine. So no, we're really excited to come back. We took a bit of time with that one, because it was just hard to suddenly have to find new spaces and things like that. But really happy with where we found at the moment, and great lineup. We just announced the food as well, and Dishim are going to be coming along, which is really exciting. One of my favorite restaurants. So just find me by Dishim.
I was just saying, it was just nice to see people who I'd seen around Birmingham at the breweries or just at pubs, and it's just like it was just hello all the time, just there. So it seemed like you appealed to the audience you wanted to appeal to, and they came and they supported it in droves. So that was good to see. Yeah.
And I hope this won't sound too much like blowing smoke, but I think sort of at least one of the reasons that we have come back to the Bristol Craft Beer Festival is just it's not just the quality of it, it's like the atmosphere that it provides as well. Beer festivals have, at least the sort of the ones I'd gone to say like 2017, are always 10 kegs in the garden of a pub somewhere, or much sort of smaller affairs. And yes, people getting guest breweries and all of those sorts of things in, but it's not on the same kind of scale. And one of the things I absolutely loved about the first Bristol Craft Beer Festival we went to is we'd been doing the podcast for a couple of years at that point, I think, maybe 18 months ish, something like that. And it was great to be like, oh cool, I can now talk to these brewers about this beer. It wasn't something that we'd kind of stepped into before, and suddenly it was let's just talk to you about this, and let's just talk to you about, and that has always sort of persisted through those festivals. And it's just so nice to have like almost the whole of that industry in the city in kind of one place for a couple of days, just to get together and just celebrate beer essentially, and have a good time and be able to just chat.
It's so one of the other things in Bristol that I missed a lot is the Bristol Brewery Trail, the East Bristol Brewery Trail, which is just a classic thing. I used to live in Easton. It was great. Every time it happened, I would be like, nice, gonna stumble home. It's gonna be great. Like as in a 5-minute walk from Arbor was where I used to live. So like right in the sort of path of the trail. And I feel like one of the great things about that is you bump into people you might know, you can chat with the brewers, and there's food, and you can kind of wander about. And then the Bristol Craft Beer Festival is like, what if there were more people, but also none of the walking, and you could talk to two people from the same, like two different breweries at the same time, like win-win-win. And I feel like both those events have the same sort of feeling for me, the same sort of atmosphere of just like really casual, very Bristolian friendliness, along with like, it's not just a pile of kegs and we're gonna have our beers and maybe talk to the next table, because there's space and there's food, and there's just this atmosphere of friendliness and openness, and you can chat with people, and that's normal and fine. In the same way as when you wander the trail, like you see people a couple stops later, and then you start talking because you've hung out with them all day, by accident. Yeah.
It's that third pint, is it? It's like, hey, it's you again. But yeah, what I was gonna say is, I think people forget, people that work in beer, it's for a lot of people, it's a hobby that turned into into a job. You know, they work in a thing that they love. So to have people there and to be able to talk to those people about their beer, you know, they love it. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you guys know, you go to a brewery, you start talking about the ins and outs of their beer. They love talking about that as much as possible. And the brewers between themselves as well, you know, they all obviously go around, try each other's beers, and you know, there are a number of collaborations that come out of those festivals as well, which is another thing I love seeing. That, you know, there's something out of just what we've created. There's something else that's come out of that. But yeah, the kind of community there, and as you said, like, you know, talking to the next table, or, you know, it's that thing, you see a really bright red beer someone's got, you're like, what is that? What beer have they got? And then you're like, hey, excuse me, what beer is that? And then you're like, right, you go off, you drink it. They're like, oh, what's it like? And you start these conversations. It's yeah, it is lovely, especially when the weather's lovely as well. That's just an absolute added bonus.
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember the first Bristol one that we went to, because it was under tents, wasn't it?
Well, is it at Motion, which is a sort of like a Bristol nightclub. So yeah, half of it was outside and half of it was then inside. Yeah,
I remember the weather was lovely most of the time, and then it just all suddenly rained at the end, and everyone was just huddled underneath the marquees. But I just remember seeing a bloke there, and he was just sat against this fake palm tree, just sleeping in the sun, and you can just see he's like, "You've had a good day."
I think those palm trees have made it through all the festivals. Actually.
They're good
I'm
palm
quite
trees.
Bring a little bit of the tropical vibes to city centres in the UK. Nice.
Harbourside.
Yeah. Brilliant. Cool. Lucy, Adel, have either of you got any sort of final thoughts on the festivals to be able to sort of chat to Tom about before we move on to something else, perhaps?
I'm just saying how the Manchester one might be on my agenda as well, because I mean, I used to live in Manchester and I miss it. And it's just become an even, you know, fantastic beer city. It was always a great city, but yeah, such amazing brewers there. So that might be on the list for next year.
It's I'm really excited about Manchester.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I said we've been putting a lot of work in this one, as we couldn't do anything else. So we've been talking about this for months now, and to see the reaction that we've had to it has been amazing. And you know, I don't need to tell you on this. You know, the beer scene in Manchester is just amazing. And I think I'm looking forward to the festival more of when I can not be at the festival and go around to some of the other places. I'm just really looking forward to exploring the city, because I've never actually managed to get a proper trip to Manchester to, like, you know,
You'll love it.
I've never been there.
Pilgrimage. Yeah. So
I'm going to take you all up to Manchester.
Yeah.
We're all going to go next year to
Nice.
Manchester.
The only time I've ever been is to watch football. It's literally drive in the city, watch football, leave again. Yeah. There's so many good, but Manchester, I don't know. We're spoiled in the UK for just fantastic beer cities, and it's not even, you know, you can say yes, London is fantastic, Bristol is fantastic, Manchester is fantastic, but Lucy said earlier, you know, not many people know about sort of like the Birmingham beer scene, but when we've been out of Birmingham, just got fantastic beers all day, and it isn't like you go to 2 places. We go to like 10 places, and you're drinking completely different breweries, different Birmingham breweries as well. So even other cities are just rising up to the occasion as well, and that's not including all of the ones that are like Buxton out in the hills and all of these other more localized, smaller kind of places. So
yeah, because in the year 2 since our last Beer Central festival, it's like got Attic, who are, I wouldn't even say up and coming. They're there. They're part of the conversation. And Glasshouse. I mean, you're getting Glasshouse beers down to Bristol now,
Yes.
and they hadn't even started canning at the start of lockdown. So just growing. So yeah, I think it's good to see that Birmingham beer scene is still alive and well, given the last year.
Good.
The only thing I wanted to add was just if people didn't know, and we'll cover this again in plugs, but just as we're talking about the festival, when is the Bristol Festival this year?
So Bristol is the 11th to 13th of June. And then basically for about 8 weeks, we've got 6 festivals happening across the UK.
So it's almost
So,
every weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, it's mad. But we're doing it. But yeah, I should mention Bigfoot Festival, our craft beer music festival. That was supposed to happen in 2019 for the first year, and obviously didn't. So that's happening the week after as well, the 18th to the 20th, and that's a proper kind of summer festival, camping festival. So headline music acts, we've got Primal Scream, Hot Chip are there as well, and a few. There's a long list.
Nice.
And same with breweries as well. We've actually managed to convince Hill Farmstead to come over and be at our festival.
Oh wow!
And
Nice.
it's their first kind of proper festival that they would have done in the UK. Obviously, they've been to craft beer festivals, but this is their first kind of music festival that they're coming to serve at. So yeah, we're really excited about that, and the likes of Verdant as well. I mean, I should probably show one of my next drinks that I've got here,
Ooh.
which is the Verdant, the Feast Afoot
Nice.
collab that we did with them. So there's
Nice.
3 different beers. One is beer, one's food, one's music. So this is the
Music
food one.
food one. Oh.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that, and that was really hard actually. 2019, sorry, for 2020, seeing that one not go ahead because obviously once again, lots and lots of planning for a festival of that size,
And it's
much more than any others.
It's a different scale as well for you, I guess. You know, where you have sort of like a craft beer festival, and kind of the music is maybe a little bit more ancillary to the beers, and the food is, you know, in addition to the beers, but the beers are the main selling point for that. Whereas for Bigfoot, it is much more than just a beer festival, I guess, and a lot more work goes into getting all of those parts exactly how you kind of want them. And I love, like, again, small daughter, I'm not going to any sort of camping festivals for a couple of years still, but if I could go to a music festival and I don't have to drink Tuborg or whatever other watery beer there is, then done.
Or whoever paid to be there is
Exactly.
the thing,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's often like a Tuborg or something like that, or the Cider brand or whatever. But that's what Bigfoot came out of. It was the fact that you've got all these amazing craft breweries, amazing beer, but the one that gets served there it's just this horrible beer. As soon as it gets warm as well, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from, and it's so funny that you said more than just a beer festival, because that's kind of that's like one of our that's kind of like one of internal taglines.
Oh, nice.
So when you said it, I was like, if anyone's doing like a bingo here at We Are Beer, okay, and I didn't say it. That's the best thing.
Perfect.
I didn't even have to say it.
I'm glad it's internal, or it's either internal or your messaging has just been very on point, that it's just subliminally gone into my mind.
And I'll give you that £20 later as well.
Perfect. Before we jump into our next beers, which will come momentarily, we are going to talk about games a little bit this evening as well. Before we launch into all of that, Tom, have you got any final kind of things you want to say about sort of like the upcoming sort of festival season, or anything to share?
I guess I'll just say, we've been prepping for this year, since the middle of last year, and we just can't wait to raise a glass with everyone, really. So we're just excited to see everyone, and also a massive massive thanks to everyone for their support over the last year. It's been hard for events, but I mean, it's been hard for hospitality. It's been hard for breweries. So we've all kind of had to stick together, and it's been people, the kind words that everyone's been sending to us. It's people being able to buy direct from the breweries and things like that. It's kept this industry alive. So just a big thank you to everyone.
Nice, good. Have you just? I say we'll move on. I'm not moving on. As part of that, have you found over the last year, sort of like the craft beer sort of scene and the communities and stuff have come together even more to sort of try and support each other and just to be able to kind of get through?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that springs to mind is the initiative that Pressure Drop, and then I think North also did as well, was you spend X amount of money with them, and a bottle shop or place gets credit, so they can buy them beer directly from them. So that was nice, it was seeing like people were obviously buying a lot of beer directly from breweries. So that was just a really nice addition to be able to like, right, we're not just gonna keep all this to ourselves. We're gonna share the love. Technically all breweries were in competition with each other last year to try and survive. But it still felt like it was the same kind of community. Everyone was still, they're all friends. We're all friends. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's worked for different worked for different breweries over the years. Everyone knows everyone. It was just really about making sure everyone was able to help everyone keep going. And there were a lot of crowdfunding and things like that as well that loads of people were supporting. I think it was important to show, we, as far as I could see, it was very much united front of everyone just trying to help everyone continue.
Perfect. Good. Nice little note to end on there. So let's move into our second beers for the evening. Tom, we'll come back to you. You're all drinking. Is that the beer you're drinking this evening? The Verdant Bigfoot collaboration beer.
I've put two in front of myself, and now I've got the hard decision of to go for the macchiato, which I think is actually one of my favorite beers.
Okay.
I absolutely love hazelnut, so anything with hazelnut in, I'm there. And I remember not realizing that this had hazelnut in it and drinking it, and I think someone just saw my eyes light up, and they were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, this is just give me a moment." So I'll need to decide.
Perfect. Whilst you're thinking about it, Lucy, we'll come to you. What are you going to drink next?
I am going to drink next. Despite having a lot of my last beer left, I've just been. It's got like half a glass left. It's just. I've just felt satiated in every sip with that one, so it's like I'm not always going back, even though it's so nice. But I'm moving on to Free Hills for this one, which is a New England IPA called the Dimension of Space. It is 6.5%, and it has Cryo Simcoe, Cryo Sabro, Cryo Mosaic, HBC 431, and Amarillo hops in it.
Quite the plethora.
I read the white text on silver can.
You're not doing well for text, are you, today?
And it's all on the back.
Amazing.
Yeah. Already read it all. It's got a lot of hops in it.
Nice. Adel, we'll move on to you. Before I do, Adel and I actually got to hang out with each other at the weekend and sat in my garden. Distanced enough to share some beers. We had a couple from Three Hills, the Cherry Bakewell Stout, and a chocolate brownie stout as well. We did a bit of an imperial stout evening. And
stout evening. Alex kept saying imperial stout, but 3 of the 7 were not imperial stouts.
Yeah.
That's why he's no longer a host here.
8%
That's why
instead.
he's a former host of Tanked Up.
Yes. But I think the chocolate brownie one was just something else. Just so good. Yeah.
I
It
very
didn't
much
really
enjoy
taste like.
the moment. Yeah.
Didn't quite taste like a chocolate brownie. It tasted wonderful. It just was one of those. I see what you're doing there, but actually, it's underselling how great it is, and people might avoid it because chocolate brownie has like a innate sweetness. You would think that beer didn't have much to just its betterment. It was just it was very good. And that's when I learned what a cherry bakewell was, because I I never had one, or I had never heard the brand name or whatever, and then I was describing. I was like, "Oh, it kind of tastes like this and this," and they're like, "Yes, like a blah." I'm like, "Oh, is that what that is? That's a thing? Cool." Feel like an idiot, but luckily the sun's gone down, so you can't see when a dark person blushes when the sun's low enough.
Good. Back to beers this evening. What are you cracking open, Adel?
I am drinking the Fresh from the Northern Monk Alpha Delta collab, Order of the Faith, double dry hopped IPA. It says the following. We come from the north and we're bringing the juice. It's a very good northern accent, Adil. It's got
Canada, or?
not even. That's like Midwestern states, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It just was like such a tough guy slogan, and that's my tough guy voice. Anyway, Citra, Mosaic, Comet, and Simcoe. It's brewed in the north with Andrew Bissett. I've been releasing drum and bass for 10 years under the name Decoy.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, we're Northern Monk. A few years ago, we set out to brew some of the best beer in the world from a damp cellar. We didn't have much. Okay, yeah, I thought they was talking about the collab, but it's not. It's just the regular Northern Monk thing. But yeah, so it is 6.5% DD double dry hopped IPA.
Nice, cool. I'm going north a little bit, not quite as far north as that. Not quite as far north as Lucy. I'm going to drink a Deya.
Nice.
There's lots of words on this can because it's Deya, but I will read the.
Okay.
The flavour text says we've teamed up with Damien from Heat and Hops, based in Stockport, to create a big juicy dipper. We use spelt in the grist and utilise Citra and Acuanot alongside HBC 586, a new experimental hop from YCH. Banger. Heat and Hops are celebrating 6 years of trading and supporting the UK independent beer scene. So I guess it's called Heat and Hops. Oh no, it's not. It's not. It's called Crocodile Tears.
Okay.
But Tears. It's an 8% dipper, of course. So yeah, I'll crack that one open. We'll come all the way back round to you, Tom. Have you cracked one? Have you picked one?
Macchiato.
Had to be macchiato. As soon as I started reading it again, I was like, yeah, I need to reliving that moment, I should say as well. I was like, I need to open this up again. I just forget how Dale, you said earlier about the chocolate brownie one, how it didn't quite hit the mark. And it's always annoying when that name and the label is probably made well in advance of the beer, so they obviously try and hit those flavors. But with this one, I mean, it's exactly what it says. You get the nuttiness from the hazelnut. The praline brings in that sweetness as well. You get that nice big coffee hit, and then it's the porter sauce, a bit thinner as well, and it's the carbonation is just right for this as well. It's there, but it allows the flavors to be a bit more silky then with it. So yeah, I'm just back in love with this beer again.
Nice. Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't had that one in a while. I should. You just describing it makes me want to pick it up now. So. And
there is a double macchiato as well.
Ooh.
They have done a double, which I think I found in. I think I was in Cons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. I don't know if it's the Bristol one, or I think there's one in Cardiff as well.
Yeah.
In there, and they just randomly had it, and I think everyone else was just having like a lager and stuff, and there's me kind of nursing a 2/3 of this double macchiato, because once again I just saw it and I was like, oh my god, I need to have this. And I think it was the first beer of the night as well, so that was a brave choice.
Just destroyed every other beer for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Just like, oh, this lager tastes like hazelnut. This lager tastes like coffee.
Oh.
Nice, good. Lucy, we'll come to you for the Three Hills.
Yes, the dimension of space. It definitely doesn't have the kick in terms of aroma of the last beer, but that was very pungent, so can't really blame it for that. But it's got a very, very orangey aroma. It's orange in colour. May look, yeah, it's probably coming up right on the camera. Yeah, very orangey. Yeah, just slight orange peel smell, I'd say.
Okay. Influenced instantly by the colour.
Perhaps. You see, I think I went for the wrong beer first. Just because this one feels the taste of more subtle. I think it's very much, the American braggadocious brashness versus the very subtle, confident, subtle nature of, English brewing, perhaps. But it's nice. It's very soft. I'd say it's a little watery. The smell is subtle, and so is the taste. Yeah, you're getting a little bit of orange in the taste. Not getting much more than that orange in terms of flavour at this point.
Do you think
you need a little bit?
I need 10 minutes to let that one settle in?
I think because I had a little sip of water. I might need to have another one just to clean my palate a little bit more, because this is just way more subtle and not as brash as the last beer, so it's a bit hard to pick out those flavours. But I'm probably going to let this one sit and come back to me. Circle around the whole.
All right. We'll circle around and around and around. Adel.
Yes.
Beers. How does yours taste?
So it is a very similar color to the other one. It's a little more hazy and a touch more yellow. This just looks like in person it's a bit like unpasteurized honey. It's been sitting for a while. It gets that crystalline sort of. That's like exactly what this looks like in person. Much more. Nose is very tropical. Much more on the mango side. A little bit of sweetness. And in contrast to the previous beer, there's no malts going on. It's just this lovely, slight sweetness on top of a mango tropically nose. It's a lot thinner than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
6.5%. It's a little thin, so it's quite easy to quaff. It has a hoppiness on the finish, but almost not a lot of lingering bitterness. So there's a little bit, but it's so light in that this could just disappear on me, because I'd be like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna have to keep drinking. And like the finish is there but light, so I'm unlike the beer, Lucy's first beer, where she was just like, I'm halfway through because I'm still tasting it for so long. This is the exact opposite. It's kind of like a more quicker finish, but it is really good. Lovely tropical notes, a touch of dankness off the top, and then a light citrus sweetness. Think kind of like someone was making a cake and dropped half a tangerine into it. Like, it's just this lingering bit of sweet citrus very much in the back, but clearly there. Which really helps with bring the dankness and the tropicaliness together. Like it's that sweetness is sort of right in the middle, and then there's also this maltiness as like a substrate, like just sitting there calmly, also helping bring those things together. Not too strong, but it's there. You can tell it's been double dry hopped because that tropical like bouquet that was so easy to waft, much stronger than the taste of the beer. Again, it's a little more reserved, but very nuanced. It's that quintessential. Someone's like, "Oh, you and your craft beers. I don't really like beer," and you're like, "Well, see, this is what I'm having." They smell like, "Oh, that smells delicious," and you're like, and then they taste it and they're like, "Why does it?" It's got that disparity of just this luxurious, non-bitter bouquet, sort of floral or tropical floral bouquet. And then you're just like, but there is a dank undertone, which, as an IPA fan, you want, right? So it's got, I think the double dry hopping is doing exactly what you want. It's really, it's just really, I don't know why the word endearing is coming to mind. I think because it's got all these interesting notes that are stitched together, but none of them are boisterous. It isn't, like Lucy said, like a brashness. There's none of that. It's nice and it's reserved in the sense of it's not in your face, but it's doing all these things well, just calmly. Like I said, kind of like I was describing the tangerine, just doing its thing in the background, you could easily miss it. There's just a slight citrus sweetness. The whole thing is kind of those types of notes just working together, just calmly being good at what it's doing.
Good, as you kind of would expect from Northern Monk. Cool. So the Deya. Deya's just something else, isn't it? Really. I mean, I haven't even tasted it yet. Just that nose. It's so soft. It's a little bit fruity. It's a similar colour to kind of everyone else's. Maybe a little bit more straw, but it's thick. It looks thick. It looks solid in colour. Oh my god, that's just too easy. Wow. So it's just fruit. It's not a 2018 or was it 2019 sort of juice bomb, when all double IPAs were just juice bombs and that was it. It has a lot of fruit in there, but there's just such a softness to it. It's as we kind of say about like Verdant and lots of other sort of brews, it's just pillowy. It's just so light.
That's the word, because I had a Deya yesterday and a Verdant. And yes, just soft, and I think pillowy is the perfect word.
Yes,
for what their beers are. Could sleep.
Well, I probably will sleep after this. But it's got a little bit of mango to it, but there's a slight sweetness in there as well. I don't know whether it's something similar, maybe like a pineapple, just a little bit sweeter. This is going to go back ridiculously quickly, but yeah, there's just this slightly ripe sort of mango in there, and and this sweetness. I just cannot quite get what that is. It doesn't sort of lean towards. Now it's sat on my palate. Tastes a little bit different. What else is going on? I'll come back to this in a moment.
I was Lucy, do you have more comments?
Yeah, my palate's become a little more acclimated to this now, and it's not a bad beer by any stretch of the means. It's just way more subtle than the last one, but I'm getting a bit more of those fruity flavors. I think orange and is very much the leading flavor, and as Adil was saying, I think that can get, when that's just the singular flavor, sometimes that can get a bit lost. That kind of tangerine, very light, subtle, orangey flavor. But it's subtle. It's nice. I just can't get the last one out of my head. It's so hard. It's sort of like I don't know, Call of Duty is like it's a very good shooter, and it just takes up all your hard drive space. That beer is just taking up my whole thought process at the moment. Whereas this one, it's a very good beer. It's a Nipah, but it doesn't quite have that fullness or that, even that fruitiness that I'd expect a Nipah to have. So it's a little bit disappointing in that aspect, but it's still a very good beer. It's got a nice little bit of bitterness at the back, so it's well balanced. It's got, as I say, it's just not got that. It's not got that pizzazz. It's not got that USP. It's a very nice, easy drinking beer, but especially coming off the back of the LIC Beer Project beer, it wavers a bit, but taken on its own merits, it's still a very good beer.
Yeah.
So I am enjoying it. It's just that, man, maybe I should stop drinking American beers on it, because
don't do
I mean,
it
the Equilibrium a few weeks back. I bought a few more Equilibrium beers, which might become a very expensive habit, considering they're from America. But Free Hills, their opinion, my opinion of them hasn't changed. They're still a very good brewery. I had, I think, I had a Nipah from them a few days ago, or a week ago, or something. Let me find the name of it, because I can definitely say I preferred that one.
Okay.
It was called Forever Always That. So I think I prefer that one to this one. Just as a, analog, both Nipahs. So I'd probably pick up that one over this one. But yeah,
fair.
Still decent.
Yeah, good. Just before we move on, then, this is an interesting bit, because if I have a little sort of sip of it, I'm getting all of that ripe mango. That's sort of the main flavour in there. But if I take a nice big deep gulp of it, it kind of presents itself a little bit better. So both have that sweetness in there, but the beer kind of lingers a little bit more on the big gulp, and you're getting maybe a bit more of a softer sort of stone fruit in there as well. So you've got that mango, that tropical stone fruit that's quite big, it's quite punchy, it's a little bit ripe at the start, and then it softens and it sort of maybe gets a little bit more sort of peachy. But again, there's still that sort of not removed sweetness, but there's still a sweetness in there which I just can't quite pick out. And I think pineapple, because it would blend quite well. It's very, very similar. So and pineapple gets lost so easily, along with a lot of other flavors, that maybe it's just lifting that sweetness a little bit. But again, it's a dipper, so it could be that sweetness is just lifted a bit by the alcohol as well. And if this was up at like 10% or something, I would say absolutely that alcohol is from that sweetness is from the alcohol. But because it's a little bit lower, it feels like there's more going on, and that there's something else in there just to lift it that little bit. But we shall return to all of our beers now at the end of the episode. I'm conscious that we do have a game Alan and Lucy have played that we have to talk about for reviewing purposes. But Tom, I want to come back to you. We've talked a lot about beer tonight and about the festivals, but gaming. Is it something you're getting much time for at the moment, having a small human to have to look after? Have your habits sort of changed with that, or even with with kind of the changes to the last year and working and things? How is your relationship with gaming at the moment?
It's a loving return. Gaming is embracing me back into its bosom. It's been so weird just having like, a passion, a hobby, just suddenly having no time whatsoever. And I love kind of bigger games like RPGs and things like that as well. And when you have like a 20 minutes to play a game, that's just not doable. You jump it back into Skyrim, you're like, where am I? What am I doing? Why am I carrying all this stuff? You just...
No one has ever figured that one out.
Yeah, exactly. huh? What? So, I've definitely had to dip into that kind of casual gaming. I was one of the many Animal Crossing people of 2020, and you know what? I think that got us all through a lot of that start.
Yeah.
I've actually got a cap with the Tom Nook leaf on it.
Nice.
I actually wore it. I actually wore it to Bristol Craft Beer Festival last year, and it was amazing. The amount of people that were like, "Oh, Animal Crossing." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And there's probably a lot of people as well that were like, "What brewery is that from?" But yeah, so I've allowed myself, or I should say, my girlfriend's allowed me to have some more time to get back into gaming, and it's been amazing. Like I've it's one of those things that I've been gaming since the Game Gear came out. I think that was the first. I got it the year it came out.
Wow.
I was just like, it's more my dad bought it for himself, but said it was a present for me. I think was how it's done. But yeah, I've just always been fascinated with gaming. So it's been so good to get back into it, and I came back right in time because Final Fantasy VII Remake came on PlayStation Plus, and
Oh yes.
that has just absolutely made the last few weeks. That kind of nostalgia coming back. I don't know what you guys think of it, but I think it's really done it justice, and there's you can see that it's modernized, but I think I've just I love the music from the original, and I like the changes in here. It's it's like a nice nod to it at times. Like obviously what's weird is that this is just a small chapter of what's to come. So in my mind, I'm like, I want to get out in the open world and start seeing more. But I've actually really enjoyed what they've done with this. And I think I went on a bit of a splurge as well of just buying games that I never got to play over the last 2 years. So I bought Metal Gear, The Phantom Pain.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a massive fan of the Metal Gear franchise. And then one that I've always seen and never jumped into is the Yakuza series as well.
Ah yes. And they're all basically free on Games Pass right now, PC and Xbox.
I know. I think Xbox at the moment just seem to killing it, and that's hard for me to say. Is like I've had a PlayStation since PlayStation 1 as well, and I'm seeing Bethesda going over to it. I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? But yeah, so I had to actually buy a external hard drive for my PlayStation because I had all these games I wanted to play, and obviously you rejoin PlayStation Plus and it allows you to re-download all those old games that you had.
Yeah.
So I think for about a week, I just had to let the games kind of download. There were so many of them. And now I'm kind of like a kid in a sweet shop, kind of looking at them all, being like, okay, which one do I want to play today? And almost like a Netflix effect, where you're like, I'm scrolling back and forth. Yeah.
Choice
I know that.
I feel like I need to just delete some and reinstall them later. But I'm jumping from game to game at the moment, and obviously now and then, PlayStation then released that Play at Home series of games.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't even looked at those.
Yeah, there's one that's got me hooked at the moment, Subnautica.
That's really
classic
good.
game.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I think that's one I really enjoy because it is just you can quite easily jump into that and leave it. Although I do keep realizing I'm just going out and trying to find X material and bring it back and then go out again. But as I say, I love RPGs, so I'm used to doing that for hours.
Well, I mean, Animal Crossing also just is a good example of it's a simple gameplay loop to describe, but that doesn't it's all in the presentation and the world and how you're motivated to do the loop. I think Subnautica's such a beautiful, calming game in that way that, like...
Yeah, definitely. Which is also weird for me to say because I definitely have a fear of open water. So
Okay.
there's times in that game I'm swimming. Oh, it suddenly gets dark. Oh, I'm actually quite deep. I have no idea where I'm going. Oh my god, what am I doing?
Apparently, one of the developers has a fear of water and
Really?
open water as well. Yeah,
Ooh.
so you're not alone in that.
I mean, there definitely is there are gamers, people who like via the safety of your living room can enjoy or like almost confront the fear or just like get to enjoy. Humans have this weird relationship with fear and adrenaline, right? And so you can sort of toe that line in a very safe way. And so I know people who like don't want the arachnid mode, like the spider mode that you have in games, because it's like, I don't like spiders, but I'm fine with them in games, even though I'm scared shitless, because they have this weird, like their brain allows them to have that just enough dissonance that they can be scared but not frightened.
I was going to say, I see you nodding, Lucy, but I know in your mind, like, no.
Yeah, there's
No,
no
thank
way.
you.
No, the spider. I was like, yeah.
Every
Meanwhile,
game should have a no spider mode, but even then, just knowing that there's spiders, even though it's just two eyes floating, it's just like no.
Just
can't
a
do
box.
I mean, doesn't it make it
coming
worse, the
towards
idea
you.
that the spiders are invisible?
Yeah, and they have this horrible sound as well. I'm just like, oh my god, no.
See,
It's like-
I like
Spiders in your-
Subnautica for the opposite reason, which is a hobby that I do very infrequently because it's not cheap and usually involves travel. Is scuba diving, and it's like I instead like can kind of remember the feeling I had out in the open water and being surrounded by fish and floating, just floating, which is an amazing experience. Via that game, it reminds me of those things, and so it's interesting that like you can come from either end and still it's good enough to like make you kind of afraid of it, but also remind you why you like the thing, depending on who you are.
And it's I can see it like getting into that sensibility. Also, Tom, with your sort of your love of RPGs as well, it's kind of like RPG light, isn't it? It's a little bit more of a survival sort of game, but it does have those elements to it as well. And playing that, maybe not sort of alongside, but very closely to something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is just pure RPG. You can see how you'd very easily flow in between those games, and how that's such it's kind of a nice flow of what you are playing, and kind of like everything that you've sort of mentioned does have that little bit of RPG element to it, and I'm all for that. I mean, all of the games that you have mentioned, like yes.
Yep. Tick.
Yep.
Although also like not completed. Because
Finishing games is
had to restart because I forgot what I was doing.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing. Final Fantasy VII Remake for me, I think I put it as third of my games of last year, but since then, it's the game I've thought about most. Before, I think Crusader Kings 3 and The Last of Us Part 2 were above that, but I've thought about Final Fantasy VII more than I have either of those games since, and I think it's just crept up for me in being, if I was to do like a retrospective now, I would sit here and go, Final Fantasy VII was my favourite game from last year, absolutely, because it's just taken so much mind share from everything else, and it's
happens, yeah.
And even it's slightly more in the news cycle as well, with the upgrade to PS5 and the Yuffie DLC, or not even DLC, but the episode that they're going to bring out with it. I'm like, yep, brilliant, I want more of this, please. Yes, absolutely. Okay, now I need to find a PlayStation 5, sure, because I can't play it anywhere else, so I'll do that. When's the next one coming? Okay, good, give me more information, just that's all I want.
Do you think people were saying that with the Cat Sith episode?
Oh, you got a little glimpse of him in the trailer, but I don't think it's interesting. Like, I don't know what they'll do. I don't know whether they'll kind of stick to the main story, because there's certain characters in the original game which you can miss. certain characters like Sid.
I mean,
you always have to
yep,
get
he's
Sid.
one of
I
them.
think. I don't think you can miss Sid.
No, yeah, you get Sid because he's the
rocket
airship.
pilot. Yeah. So
it's Vincent and Yuffie, isn't it? I think that.
I was going to say Vincent and Yuffie
Yeah.
are the only two missable characters
Okay.
because the rest of them have some plot attached, like Red 13 and Kate Sith.
was Kate Sith
Also
by
part
Golden
of
Saucer, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of how
Lucy's like,
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like cool.
Someone sneezed when I said that. You know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they approach all of these things. But it's, I guess, still most of it is up in the air at the moment, based upon maybe how well this extra episode does, or whether they'll just bring it all into kind of like a mainline installment rather than an extra sort of few hours to then throw on top. So
I can't wait for in like 10 years the Final Fantasy VII Definitive Edition, and there's like
Yeah.
11 things in there.
and we're a whole new generation on
Oh, yeah.
again when that
Yeah,
actually comes out.
It's a PS6 and it's 7 Hyper RAID discs.
And what they'll do is they'll allow Cloud to have like a PSP and play the original Final Fantasy VII on it.
within it.
Yeah, so you have the original within the actual game.
Oh, but
That'd be
it couldn't possibly be a PSP or a Vita because those consoles are dead to that company.
That's true.
They'll probably turn the store back on just for members of the deluxe package
Yeah.
of Final Fantasy VII.
That's part. Yeah, that's part of the game. Relive those stores. Yes, absolutely. Nice, cool. Let us then move on to talking about. I know a game that Lucy and Adel, you have both played, which I've forgotten the name of. Behind
Before
something
Your
or
Eyes.
before.
Before your eyes, I got distracted by Final Fantasy talk. I was opened up Steam so I could read the thing. 1 second. Okay. Embark on an emotional first-person narrative adventure where you control the story and affect its outcomes with your real-life blinks. With this innovative technique, you will fully immerse yourself in a world of memories, both joyous and heartbreaking, as your whole life flashes before your eyes. It comes out technically tomorrow. Obviously, we got preview codes. So literally, you set up a webcam, you do some calibration of blinking at the screen, and one of the hardest parts about the game is looking away is just a consistent blink no matter what you do. And I was streaming it, and so I was glancing to Twitch chat, and I was like, blinked there, oops. But it's brilliant. I really loved it. I'm hesitant to say a lot, not only because we're under embargo, but also just because I think it's worth playing even if you aren't really into games. If you're into storytelling in games and interactive storytelling and getting all of the feels, this is worth doing. It is. I've bought it, so I don't see a price on. Oh, there's no price in the store because it's not out till tomorrow.
And it can be played without a webcam.
Okay.
I think you may lose some of the.
I think you'll lose a lot. I think at that point, watching a Let's Play would be reasonable. One of the things I really liked about streaming it was being able to confidently say, watching me do this isn't enough. You're basically, the premise is you wake up and you're just this floating thing, and this dog on a boat tells you that this is essentially the afterlife.
Like the
And
river Styx, yeah,
it's
he's
the
like
river
cow,
Styx. Yeah. And
dog
there's
there.
yeah, and there's seagulls for whatever reason. He says he's plucked you, and he gets one shot to find someone to tell their story well enough to get them into the city. That's all you know. And then so he says, "Look, we're gonna go through your memories, and when you blink, we'll hop forward to a new memory." So, like, your first memory is a lady on the beach, and you, presumably your mom. And it just kind of paints open, and you're looking at a sunset, and you hear her talking, and then you blink, and it cuts her off, and you're like, "Oh, right, I blinked." And so so it's nice because basically what happens is you've got the mouse to aim your cursor, and there's sometimes like eye icons, and you have to put your mouse cursor on it then blink, and then it'll trigger an event in the scene. But as soon as a metronome shows up, the next time you blink, the scene goes away, and it comes up early in a several line voice acting sequence. And so this is where the innovative technology really works, because you're like, oh, I want to listen, I can't blink, but I'm very human and very, I immediately did which just makes your eyes get weaker immediately. Podcast listeners, I'm bug eyeing, right? And so it's just like, oh, and then you realize you're doing it, you're like, crap, and then you're like, did I blink? I didn't blink. This happened several times. I'm like, I swear I blinked, but it didn't register. Haha! And I blink as I'm like, haha, in my head, because I'm like, I succeeded. So I relaxed. So, and like this tension between trying to focus on the story, but also literally the easiest way to do it is to unfocus your eyes so you don't strain them, but you're still trying to take things in. I played with subtitles on for the stream's sake, but I also think that's a good. I think that was basically. I think it was good that I could kind of lightly read as well as listen. But also they had a mode which is like limited subtitles, because certain things, the gameplay would be impacted if they just put all of the subtitles. We'll go into the details on that, but I think that's a really smart mode of being accessible, but letting you know that, hey, if you want to be fully accessible, your gameplay will be impacted. And so we've made a mode where your gameplay won't. You can just do the reading. And then a couple times, so it's basically that mechanic, right? Move your mouse, blink at a thing. Sometimes it's like you're taking notes in class when you're younger as a student. You blink at a thing on the board, and then you move your cursor, and now it's got scribbles. And then as soon as you blink, when the scribbles are over the page, your character will take a note. So that's taking notes in class. Like really simple like that. And then there's certain things where it'll track if your eyes are closed. And I found it was later in the game where more emotions happened, and I found that very effective, because the voice acting is very good. And suddenly I've been used to straining and looking and hunting, and then suddenly I have to just close my eyes, and all I'm doing is listening, because I'm kind of waiting for the game to run out of dialogue, like as a mechanic, so no, I can open my eyes up. But also that means I'm just focusing on this good voice acting, which is, biggest spoiler I'll give is it's emotional and a trip. So like having to focus on a really good voice actor saying some emotional stuff, right? You're just there, and you're not distracted by your room, or like it's actually just really good immersion, because I'm literally shutting out all the things that might distract me from the game, and all I'm doing is listening to this emotional exchange, and I can't help but get all the feels. And like between lockdown and etc and whatever, but also just like this is so like the mechanics, I just like usually I'm pretty jokey on streams, and like I've played a couple like adventure games that have dealt with very tough subjects, as they seems to be a trend of like really cutesy graphics and really sad family stories. And here it was just like, I'm tearing up, guys. But also, this isn't helping me play the game because I have tears in my eyes.
I thought you were
can't
just
blink because I want you to hear this.
Yeah, I thought you were just moistening your eyes because they were open for so long.
Yeah.
But when I first started playing this game, I was like, oh, I wish every game was like this, where I could just, play the game from blinking. And there are technologies that do that, eye tracking technologies. But then after like 5 minutes, it's probably no more. I was like, no, wait, actually, this is pretty exhausting, having to keep my eyes open. And as you say, that push and pull between thinking, okay, I have to keep my eyes open, and when you're doing that, you're concentrating on keeping your eyes open, and it gamifies your bodily functions, which is very interesting.
What a turn of phrase.
Given that it's not like a Wii Fit board or anything like that, and I just love the themes going through it, because there's the metronome telling you when you can and cannot blink, and there's a whole theme of your mother being a musician in the game, and I love how it's about life and death, and it's literally your life flashing before your eyes in every scene. And I love how they combine the mechanics with with just that storytelling and that theme, and yeah, the part where what you're talking about, Adil, where you're actually closing your eyes and listening to the story. I mean, games are very, it's all about the synesthesia, where it's like, you know, you got sound coming out, you know, positional sound, audio, and you got, you know, things going off in front of your eyes, and you have also the graphics and the storytelling, and but this was just simply just focusing on that audio and that storytelling. And I think it's as you say, quite a emotive and powerful mechanic and thing to do. So yeah, it's fascinating. I need to dig more into the story, especially with what you've said, Adil. It's like I was focusing on the stream of you playing it, but I was more focusing on you struggling, which was far funnier than anything else. And because I didn't want to be spoiled on the story, because yeah, I was really interested in where it was going, and so yeah, it's just it's a unique thing, and you obviously find these kinds of experiences in indie games, especially, but yeah, it's still good how it manages to surprise you and just have something different. Which
and usually it's not often you get in indie games, because there's the freedom of storytelling, just having these really impactful narratives, and often you get like really interesting, weird, quirky gameplay mechanics or interaction points, and but I've literally never seen like such a great stitching of both, like unique versions of both of those things together. So like I played the whole thing on stream. I mean, there is a VOD going up on the website tomorrow, I think, of it. But I think the best thing you could do is just watch the credits with me as I kind of basked in the afterglow. Because I mean, I wasn't spoiling anything in the credits, but I was kind of just talking about, oh wow, all the things I thought about, and I let the whole credits go because I just wanted to acknowledge all of that, including all the Kickstarters, because it was just such an interesting game, and it's so unique. And like I said, games, I'm not, you know, a iron-hearted bastard, but like games don't usually hit me so hard in the feels, and this one I was like, yeah, oh god, yeah, okay, we're doing this, and like, oh, it keeps going, and oh, interesting, and like the writing is very good. It's not, you know, there are tough scenes, but it doesn't feel like it's doing that to make you get the feels. I guess it's like, oh, this is,
it's not exploitative.
Yeah, it very much feels like this is the story we're trying to tell, and in that story there's going to be these harsh, like these hard emotional moments, versus, hey, we've got the story, how do we make you feel the most in it, I guess, if you think of the two different approaches to writing. It's excellent. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Even if you're not really looking for feels, it's like I said, it's such an interesting innovation. But yeah, so Before Your Eyes also, yes, I was going to say a thing, then I think, so we were talking about it, and I you know, I happen to acronym most things, I'm too lazy to type. Before Your Eyes just says bye, which has a game about crossing the river Styx. It's like, oh, I see what you did there, except I didn't until this afternoon.
I mean, watching it was good for both the story and the dialogue beginning, but and also for your reaction. But I think, like, and Tom, I don't know whether you would have kind of felt this in, say, the last 20 odd months, but since having Evelyn, things seem to hit me just that little bit harder. And even watching you experience this story, I'm sat here like, jeez, this does hit, and I'm not even controlling any of this. I'm just sort of watching it, and I find even with sort of passive entertainment and not just active entertainment, I feel just that little bit more, not connected so much, but emotional and impacted. Yes, impacted is the word. Yeah. As a newish father, Tom, is that something you've experienced as well?
He's crying right now.
Yeah, it is. I was just blinking. I'm just blinking as well. I'd like to say that it's only happened since Robin was born, but I'm definitely an emoji.
Right.
And I think it's just been enhanced since Robin. I mean, Christmas adverts. Oh my god, I can't even deal with them anymore. I can't even remember which advert it was. It wasn't even a sad advert, and I was just like, what's going on?
Who's cutting
and there's just certain movies I don't know why they get me. Obviously, like we're watching some Disney films and stuff with Robin, and we watch Moana, and for some reason, just throughout that film, I'm just an emotional wreck, and I have to hide it from Robin, who's like singing and dancing. And I'm just like, I can't take this. So yeah, like hearing the description of this game, I'm like, I really want to try this, just partly for the I don't want to say novelty, because I imagine that the blinking part doesn't become a novelty. It's part of what you're doing. It's part of the game.
The first they know really well to like. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into, right? So you're just like, I'm blinking. So like the first 5-10 minutes are, I think, where I set the tone for the stream of laughing at me struggling, and then when the story got like more emotionally rich, it was like, whoa, this is weird. Didn't expect this at all. But yeah, I think novelty is fine to say because it is just a novel like thing, and it's very hard to describe without just letting someone do it, I guess.
Yeah. But I guess then that story element then is really what hooks you in. So you might come in for the novelty of trying it out, but then it is that kind of quality from what it sounds like of that is really hooking you in. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm sold. I'm already like, right, where do I get this tomorrow?
Steam.
And is there are scenes extended because you don't blink? That's what I'm wondering. Like,
yes. So I was just gonna say. So a couple things I glossed over were that there are decision points where you can, because you're again the premise is you're sort of going through your memories with the boat dog, and so you can kind of you'll have two eyes, and it's like choice A or choice B, and so you can kind of guide the story in that way. So it's definitely. You can craft it yourself, so it's not like which is just enough choices to make you not feel like you're on rails. But this is the thing that I realized was like a couple of the early scenes, your parents are just talking, and then you just blink, and then it literally just kills the scene, and it goes forward like to another point in your childhood, not the next day, because you're telling the story of your life, right? And you're like, but I was enjoying the world building you were doing, and now I don't want to lose it on this scene, and now I'm like tense, but I also can't be tense because that's going to make the scene shorter, because if I'm tense, I'm blinking sooner, and like that literal tension in your eyes is so strange, and it is novel, and it's this weird fight, and it's so smart, and I think that's why I kind of got hit in the feels. So not to say the writing isn't strong, but I think it's the stitching together of the mechanic and the writing, right? Because you get so invested in the story because you want to hear more, and you're physiologically fighting yourself to hear more. And like, so the game mechanic, that's what I'm saying, it's such an interesting like combination of the two, because I'm now fighting to hear more of your dialogue in virtue of it being hard for me to do that, and me not like, and now the dialogue really matters, and so I can't help but tune in and feel invested in it. And so when the dialogue builds to sort of more, the narrative stakes hit higher, I'm going up there with you, and I'm already invested even before the stakes got higher. And I think it's, but yeah, that's why I was being a bit comical in the stream, because it was like, no, don't stop, like I wanted to do that thing and I couldn't do that thing. Or sometimes the metronome would show up, and then like a few seconds later, and I would show up. So it's like, oh, if I don't blink and can get the mouse to the eye, I can then blink and continue the scene with this new bit of information. And I do that, and then the metronome immediately starts up again. And I'm like, oh, is another eye going to show up? Like, it keeps you guessing, such you don't know what scenes it's just not worth holding on to not blinking. Like, so there were a couple scenes where I was just like, I figured it out, relaxed my eyes. And then, like, my dad finished his line. I was like, oh fuck, I could have blinked 10 seconds ago. What a waste.
But the thing is that even when you skip to the next scene from blinking, it doesn't feel punishing, because it's like it's such a natural reaction anyway, so you can't exactly blame yourself. and also the story just keeps moving.
Mm.
You know, the text is rich enough that it's like you're not even thinking about the last scene. You're right there in that moment in the next
fully
one.
focused.
So, yeah, it's not like, okay, quick save, let's re-roll this character, or let's save scum this and just go.
Didn't even.
You don't feel that way, so which is good because we're only human, aren't we?
Yeah. And the whole thing's like an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the perfect length to you can find the time, you can just sit there and do the whole thing, which is I think the exact thing you want to do with this thing, right? You're just immersed, you stay immersed, you go through the whole thing, you experience it, and they add the new mechanics, and you're used to blinking being the thing. So yeah, again, I there is a stream of it, and I think I'm going to, why I said maybe not tomorrow is because I want to record a bit at the beginning to just be like, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
If you want to know if you should get this game, get this game. The stream we put all our streams up as video, VODs, but this is worth getting, and I think you should know that before you go further because the story is so important. So I just want to record a bit of that before I post a thing. So hopefully I get around to that tomorrow.
Nice.
But I just, again, being really light because I think it is such a well-made and well-written thing that the less you know in this case, the better. That it's worth doing, and get before your eyes is what I say.
Good. Ringing endorsement for a quite short experience, but one that's very impactful. I would imagine if they tried to eke it out a little bit, if you're looking at an hour and a half to a 2 hour experience, if they try to make that sort of 3 or 4, maybe it starts to lose a little bit of the impact. Maybe again they've hit a point where they know that they're asking quite a lot of people in terms of this sort of blinking mechanic, that actually over a 4 hour period that's just unsustainable.
It'd need to come with free eye drops at that point.
Digital release, but put your address in because we'll post you some eye drops. Good. That is a excellent place for us to finish this week. We will come back then to the beers that we have drank just to round out our evenings and see if we had any favourites or any final thoughts on the beers that we have drank. Tom, we'll come back to you first. Any final thoughts on these beers?
Well, I think I definitely did it the right way round. I like what Lucy was saying earlier. God, can you imagine if I'd started on the macchiato and then gone to the hell? So I'm just drinking a bottle of 500ml water. The Lost and Grounded. I think Well, the interesting thing about the two of these beers, you've got the macchiato, which is full of flavour, and it's got so much going on, so many levels. The mouth fills, everything there, and then you've got Lost and Grounded, the lager there. That it's all about that balance and all about that crisp. It's two very different beers, but both amazing. And I think there's definitely a point of that you get to when you're in craft beer that you kind of realize the importance of both. I'm definitely got to that circle of craft beer lover. Started at lager, went through all the craziness, back at lager. And I think lager was definitely throughout last year as well what I was drinking. I just couldn't drink those crazy beers every day. There was a time and a place for them, but macchiato, as I said earlier, I have such fond memories of it, and it's everything I remember of it. I'm almost at the end of it already, to be honest, and it's just and I forgot that it's I forgot that it has lactose in it, but obviously for a lot of people there's a lot of beers that they say, why is there lactose in this? This is obviously a very clear one where that adds to this, adds to those flavors. So it really works. So it's just delicious.
Perfect. Nice.
Nice.
Lucy, we'll come to you.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer this week. The Free Hills definitely grew on me over time. Just nursing the last of it now. It's a good beer. It's decent beer. It's well balanced. It's soft. It's very easy drinking. Think getting a bit more of that fruit as as I went through it. So it's nice. It's a good beer, but it's got to be the Kingsguard. That is the name of it, isn't it?
Yep.
The Kingsguard from LIC Beer Project in Queens, New York. Yeah, it was just it was very out there. It was like, look, here's a beer. We're gonna just punch you in the face with all these flavors, all the just deck you with all this hoppiness, all this fruitiness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of bitterness. Quite carbonated, very hoppy, and yeah, as you were saying, Ben, like the water quality as well was nice, where it was soft at the same time as doing all of those things. It's just a really good beer. This is the probably the first I've had from this brewery. I think it is actually. I've seen them kicking around for quite some time on our shores, but this is the first time I've had from them. But yeah, this would be hard to beat in most weeks. So yeah, this is a really good beer. I'm gonna have to source more from them.
Nice.
As I say, this habit of getting American beers is gonna make me destitute.
Yeah, I mean, you'll become a North American beer distributor over in the UK in no time, won't you? Like, just a pallet of these guys, just a pallet of this one. Maybe I can't quite drink all of these, and I should probably sell some. Yeah, done. New career path sorted. For
But yeah, don't let the very loud can art dissuade you, because it's got a lot to show for it in the flavor as well. So it lives up to that. Very brash can art. So
Good.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Good bit.
Nice. Adel, we'll come to you.
Yes, me.
Did you have a preference?
I did. So I had the IPA, East Coast IPA from Brew By Numbers, and then I had the Northern Monk Alpha Delta Brewing collab double dry hopped IPA, and I think the collab wins it pretty handily. Well, that might be. It's clearly a more interesting dynamic beer. They're actually, I think, it's a shame that they're so similar in that they're both slightly tropical with an oat backbone IPAs. So in a different week, it wouldn't have been so obvious. Maybe that just more taste. The tropicaliness of this is a little wider. There's a bit of passion fruit and a bit of mango. The dankness is a little stronger, so it's giving me more IPA vibes just because there's a bit more bitterness throughout the whole thing. While the Brew By Numbers East Coast IPA is very good, and I actually think the oatiness, the creaminess, if you're looking for something, like I said, in that early spring vibes, it's a very good beer for that, because it had that volume while still being 6%. Just had that density from the oats. And there's oats in the grist for this, I believe, which just don't do as much in the Northern Monk as the Brew By Numbers, but everything else is just a little more while still being reserved. So I felt like there was just more taste going on. The taste profile was more interesting. The curve moved a little more without being disjointed. It's just a very, very good beer.
Nice.
And it's rare that I didn't actually expect that they both would kind of live in the same sort of slightly tropical but pulled back IPA space. And it's like, well, sorry guys, like, then the one with more nuance is always going to win for me. The one that's doing a little more in the same space. So in another week it wouldn't have been as obvious, I think, or so straightforward. It's like, I don't know. I think you guys are trying the same thing, and I think the Northern Monk collab is just doing it a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's cool.
For me, I think it's got to be the Deya this week. I mean, I don't know any week we've ever had when someone has drank a Deya when it hasn't been the Deya. The Wiper and True, the collaboration, beer festival beer was very nice. It had lots of really good flavours, and I think had we have been recording at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a lovely day, it would have been that beer, because it would have just sat at that perfect time. It feels like that beer, I don't know whether this is true for kind of all these kind of beer collaboration or festival collaboration beers. You were saying earlier, Tom, about having them sort of sessionable and these sort of qualities that you wanted from them. But actually, this feels like the beer that you would have first before starting the session. You go and you're like, right, we'll have the festival beer and see what that's like, and then move on to all of these other ones. This is absolutely... It's very, very flavourful and opens you up very, very well to then being like, right, what's next? I can then just chock through all of these other beers. And the Deya is just a Deya.
Yeah. You've got the gateway drug and the drug.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Like, ooh, beer's pretty good. So yeah. Good. They are our beers. They are the games that we've been playing. Things that we've been chatting about this week. Tom, if people want to follow you on the socials, or get more info about the beer festivals, how do they do that?
So for myself, on Twitter it's Tom Paul Meyer, and on Instagram it's My Cheeky Pint. And then for the festivals, it's basically Bristol Craft Beer Festival. You can be able to find us there. Same for Manchester, same for Edinburgh, London, and then for Birmingham it's Beer Central, and then Bigfoot Fest for Bigfoot.
Nice. And that's on all of the socials. Is there like a central We Are Beer site to cover everything as well?
Yeah, there is We Are Beer, which is @WeAre_beer, and that's on Instagram and Twitter.
Nice. Cool. If listener, viewer, friend, you would like to get hold of all of us, we are at Tanked Upcast on the socials. You can also go to outoflives.net to look at all of the other things we do, the different podcasts and shows that we do, the various articles that we put out as well. I am Nova_47 on almost everything. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9 everywhere.
Nice. And Adel, you are
at the Omniarch on all of things except Twitch, where I'm the _Omniarch.
Perfect. We are here on Twitch almost every Tuesday. I know it's a Wednesday, but we're here every Tuesday normally, drinking some beers, talking about some games. Stick around and follow us on Twitch as well for the other shows that we put out live, or us just playing a few games. And if you've got a couple of minutes, go to your podcast service of choice and rate and review us if you'd be so kind to do so. We are available on almost, well, I could say almost, I'd imagine it is every podcast service these days.
Otherwise I've messed up.
Yeah. So we should be on every podcast service. Let us know if we're not, and we'll add it, I suppose.
At the Omniarch, just tell me when I missed a thing.
Good. So that's us for this week. Tom, as the guest, have you got any final thoughts that you'd like to throw out into the ether of our listeners and the internet?
Well, it's a shame we just talked about game, because I was just going to blink rapidly at the at the screen and just see if that moves us on to the next chapter.
Yeah. Straight through into next Tuesday. Done.
Yeah.
Instantly back and miss all of the work we have to do for the week.
Oh, that'd be great.
Adel, Lucy, do you have anything to add to finish us out on?
No, thank you for putting on such good shows over not you, Ben, stop nodding.
No.
All the festivals, Tom. I really enjoyed them, and it was great having you on this week.
Yep.
Come back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yes. So.
Yeah, you're always welcome for beer or games or both. That's an inclusive or, not an exclusive or. Yes, I'm still a logician. But yeah, it was great, and also really looking forward to this year's festival. For obvious reasons, and maybe some that aren't obvious. But hope to see everyone. That's you guys I can see on screen, but also you guys who are listening to us. And if you are one of our more international listeners, well, I don't know if the walls will have come down fully by the time June rolls around, but, you know, if they do, there's a festival. Hang out.
There's lots.
At a distance, maybe. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real weird and squirrely. I actually don't know how I'm gonna deal with it. I've got like the pubs are opening in a bit, and I'm like, got some friends are like, let's 6 of us go to the pub. I'm like, I'm okay with hanging out with you guys, but I don't know how I feel about being in a pub garden with other tables of 6s of people I don't know. I've now turned our closing things to a ramble about my social anxieties, but.
I have the same ones, but I will say, tables also a good idea because I haven't walked anywhere in literally 18 months. I need to sit down.
Unless we do it that you have to show a pedometer of how many steps you've done to get your next beer, because no one has done any walking whatsoever the last year.
That's it. You've got to get your 12,000 steps in just in that one session.
I've got 12,000 steps a year, so.
So the trick is you put it on your hand right before you groom your cat.
Yes.
That's what it is, right?
You understand what I'm saying when I say groom your cat. Folks.
Yes. Brilliant. What a lovely thought. Tom, once again, thank you very much for joining us this week. As Adler and Lucy have said, we'd be glad to have you on any other week as well. Thank you very much. To all of our listeners, we, for this week, have been Tanked Up, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net